Hi everyone, welcome to Jawaras. In this video, we are going to talk about bean definition inheritance. So I don't have presentation for this video because this is a short video. So I will directly jump right into the project. So this is the project Spring Core E09 bean definition inheritance. So I have I've already defined the dependency for Spring context here, and the word Spring version is 6.0.11 and we are using Java version 17. So I have configured pom.xml to use Java version 17 and to include Spring context dependency because Spring context is required to access application context and it is required for Spring IOC container. Then I have created main class inside main package which consists of main method which is the starting point of our application. I have another class called author repository which is inside repositories package, and this has three instance variables. First is database URL, second is username, and third is password. So all three are private variables, and in order to set their value, I have three setter methods, and I override written the toString method to print the database URL, username, and password. And this is our beans.xml file where we will define the bean definitions for this project. And since we have only one class author repository for which we want to define the beans, so we will define the bean for author repository in in this file. So let's do that. So we are going to talk about bean dependency inheritance. That means one bean definition can inherit its properties, construct arguments, its scope, the methods. That means method overrides from the another bean definition. So and that is called parent bean definition, or it's called template as well because that is being used as template. So let's see that in action. So if we want to define a bean of type author repository, what we can do is we can say bean class equal to repositories dot author repository, and let's give it some ID. I will say author repository, and we can access it in um, here. So here I have created application context equal to new class path XML application context because we have defined bean definitions inside an XML file, and this constructor takes one file name which is beans.xml. It can take multiple file names, but we have only one bean configuration file. And let's take author repository from this context. The repository will be context dot get bean, type will be author repository dot class, and let's print it out here repository. So let's run it. So we can see author repository is being printed here, but database URL, username, and password all are null. What we can do is uh, we can inject those properties using property tag, property name. Let's say database URL, and let's give it value. Let's give it JDBC MySQL localhost 3306. Then let's define another property called username. Let's say its value is dev, and okay, this is our database name is Spring. The database URL will be this one. You don't need to know that for now. Just um, keep in mind that database URL is a property of type string, so we can pass any string here. And username is also a string, and the third property which is password, that is also a string. Password and its value I will say pass for now. And if I run it again, it's working fine. So we can see author repository has correct database URL, username and password. Now let's say we want to create multiple beans of type author repository, but they all have some uh, common values for some properties. In that case, we can create one parent bean definition for author repository, and we can access or we can use that bean as a template. So what we can do is we can say bean class will be repositories dot author repository. Let's give it an ID. I will say template author repository, because this will work as template only. So this is the bean. Now let's give it some properties. So I will just copy these values, control V, and now in order to inherit the definitions from template author repository, we need to specify one attribute here, which is called parent. So parent will be template author repository. Now in this case, this template author repository is called parent bean definition or template bean definition, and this author repository is called child bean definition as well. So that being said, if we run it again, we will get an error. No unique bean definition exception, because we have two beans of the same type, and which is repositories dot author repository. So now what we need to do is we need to give specify name as well. So let's say test repository, and we run it again. Again we can see, okay, test repository. Okay, sorry, it's author repository, because the name of the bean is author repository, not test repository. And we can see we are getting database URL, username and password, which we defined in template author repository bean. So generally what we want to do is the template repository, we want to make it abstract so that uh, we should not be able to directly access that bin. So that bin should always work as template only. It should not create any instance of that class. So in that case, we need to make this bin definition abstract. So I can say abstract equals to true. And if I run it again, it will just work fine. But now what we can do, we can remove this author repository from here, because now Spring ISA container will create only one bean of type author repository. It won't create this template author repository. So if we run it again, it will work. Now, now what you can do is you can add or modify the attributes which are defined in template repository as well. So let's say we are not defining password here, so we can define that here, password and value. Let's say root at the rate 123. This is the password. And let's say we want to modify the database URL, or yeah, we want to modify the database URL as well. So let's say property database URL, and we can say value will be the JDBC MySQL localhost. Let's say uh, port has been changed to 9000, and database has been changed to let's say MyDB. And if we run it again, we can see database URL is localhost 9000 slash MyDB. Username is Dave, because username was specified in template bean definition, and we have not modified that in the child bean definition. Password is root at the rate 123, and this password was not defined in parent bean definition, but it is defined in child bean definition, so it will be taken from here. Now let's create another bean from the same template. So let's say bean class will be repositories dot author repository. ID will be, let's say, test author repository, and its parent will be template author repository. Now we don't need to specify these two, and if the value is same for the test author repository. So let's say we only need to define the or specify the password. So what we can do is property password, and let's say, so generally the password is empty for testing purpose, so let's say value is empty. If we run it again, we will get error, no qualifying bean of type repositories dot author repository available, expected single matching bin but found two. So one is author repository, second is test author repository. Because we have three bin definitions, but one bin definition is abstract, so no bin will be created for that bin definition, but remaining two bin definitions are not abstract. So one bean will be created in the Spring ISA container for each bean definition. Now there are two bean definition of type repositories.author repository. So Spring ISA container doesn't know which bean to return, and so it will throw exception. So let's say we want to get the test author repository here. So we can specify the name as well, test author repository, and let's run it again. Now this time it works fine. Database URL we can see is this 3306 and Spring, which was defined in the template, and we have not changed it in the test author repository. Username is Dave, we have not changed that as well, and password is empty string. We have changed that here because in the template we have not injected password, so the value of password will be null, but we have injected empty string in test author repository, so the value will be empty string. So that's how bean definition inheritance works. So that's it for this video. We will meet in the next video. Until then, keep learning. Bye.